Yo, what is up, fitness family? Welcome to another episode of the True Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Conway, and of course, founder of True Fitness. But nonetheless, today I'm diving again into some questions and some responses to the podcast. First and foremost, I want to remind you guys, please comment below if you're watching this video and you've got specific questions for me, whether it involves training, nutrition, performance, or mindset. I love to influence, inspire, and educate on all facets of all those aspects. So it's something that I clearly enjoy, and it is what I do. But today we are discussing a question that was presented by at Brody Newton 10. Shout out to Brody. Shout out to Colonel Coffee, a good friend of mine. Hope you're well, bro. But the question was, I would love to hear how you would navigate a high-level high school athlete and balance between traditional CrossFit, like in an affiliate, as opposed to or in addition to traditional strength and conditioning work. Now, I summarized this here right just in the bottom of the screen. It says training specialized athletes with CrossFit. How do we balance GPP and specialty? And I hope that summarizes your question as much as I can with accuracy, Brody. But I want to dive into this thing pretty directly. It's quite simple. When you're dealing with an athlete that is focused on a specified outcome, like high level performance of basketball, football, soccer, tennis, baseball, badminton, golf, anything, there is endless value in developing their greater GPP. GPP means general physical preparedness. There is a very high correlation to making athletes improve their squat, improve their press, improve their pull-up, improve their baseline metabolic conditioning in simple tasks like monostructural movements like just burpees in 5 minutes, burpee pull-ups in 5 minutes, max effort bike for calories in 10 minutes. This is both male and female, and as nuanced as downhill skiers increasing their pull-up reps. Their performance at their sport goes up. Now, I don't want to sound ignorant when I make that statement like it's a true and pure blanket statement. Athletes need to be monitored in regards to the kind of GPP that they're doing, the volume, and also the intensity in regard to the kind of training that they're doing outside of the gym. So what I mean is that in the heart of the off season, it is a wonderful time for football, basketball, again, endless list of sports that could do CrossFit as GPP, to do CrossFit. The main reason being that they need to get outside of the movement redundancy that sports often create, especially in today's world where we specialize athletes younger and younger and younger, and we monopolize their time with more skill work, more drill work, more skill work, and more drill work, right? We tend to overconsume them with their craft as if they're professionals from a very young age. And this, of course, plays out in a negative way for most athletes, and athletes that can properly balance it and actually properly, from a timing perspective, find the sport, it often optimizes them. So what I mean by that is that what we're finding now, folks, believe it or not, is that real athletes are developed through all sports as they grow up. And then they start to specialize in the latter, not the early, but the latter years of high school. And then they still take the best scholarships. They still take the best opportunities, and they still win the most things. And the reason is because they're not burnt out. They're not prematurely developed as like a drills and skills ninja. So here's what we're seeing now is that, and this isn't right, wrong, or indifferent, but what we're seeing now is that athletes get to a certain level, maximizing skills and drills. They're really technically sound. They know how to be coached. They dribble well in basketball. They handle the ball well in soccer. They've got great placement, but then they really tap out their physical potential very early. And it's because of their overexposure to training, movement redundancy, and then, of course, just the psychological and emotional burnout, lack of social connections, all the things that literally play a role in how you perform. And then these other athletes who have had a diverse athletic background all the way through the latter years of high school and have dabbled enough to stay relevant, but then come into the physical maturity of their body and start to barely meet the expectations or the optimization of their DNA with the skills and drills that they're exposed to in high school and in specialized sport. And then by the time they're juniors and seniors, they're like all in on one thing. That's still where we're seeing the biggest fruit. And so although we're seeing a huge shift in early exposure and mastery and endless time of focus in sport specific work, there's so much fruit in being a generalist. And I take this back to the conversation and the question that was immediately approached, which was, how do we basically balance this GPP type approach with the specialization of athletes in today's world? And for me personally, I believe, again, the heart of the off season is when you want to do this training the most, because there is a time for specialized training. But here's where a lot of strength conditioning coaches go wrong, which is they try to specialize strength conditioning. It is very true that if I know I'm training a soccer player or a basketball player, a football player, or tennis player, that they need lower body strength, they need lower body power, they need lower body stability, they need the ability to change direction, all these things. But what I don't want to do is overexpose them to things they do so much on the tennis court, so much that they do on the basketball court, and so much that they do on the football court that, again, we're running into redundancy issues, overuse injury issues. So what I try to do is consider the planes of motion that they hit most often, and I try to strengthen them outside of that. If they run side to side a lot, we try to get them going up and down. We try to get them going front to back. If they go front to back a lot, if they're a linear sport like track athletes, boy, we try to go side to side a lot. We try to get them in ranges and moving through planes that aren't often strengthened or exposed to weakness development. Because if I can bring up some of those weaknesses for these athletes, they will be more well-rounded versions of themselves and optimally be more durable and be able to increase the performance and the specialization that's asked of them. How do we apply this? Well, it's pretty simple. If I have a basketball player, for example, that's coming to me for strength conditioning work, but he's also going to a skills coach twice a week, and he's playing in 3 games a week, man, I don't got much of an opportunity to really do a lot of traditional CrossFit with him, because when I get him, I'd like to have him do some strength work, because of course that's probably what's going to keep him healthy and strong. Last thing I want him to do is start coming to me and then I'm running him more and I'm bounding him more and I'm doing all these things that actually put more stress on his growing joints, and in a way that is so dynamic that it likely mimics the stimulus that he gets with his skills and drills coach and his team when he's playing and practicing. So I'm going to try to get him focused on isometrics. I'm going to try to get him focused on tempo-based slow strength movements. I'm going to try to create more stability and more confidence in the positions that he might be a little bit weak in. And then I think it will help him thrive in everything else that he does. So does CrossFit have a place? Absolutely, CrossFit has a place, but it needs to be timely. It needs to be when there's not really a lot of competition at all. If it's any sport, it should be away from competition, because again, we're generalists. They are specialists. We must respect the specialty. We can't try to fit a square into a circle, right? There's no need to do that. We trust and understand that from a strength conditioning perspective, training constantly varied functional movements executed high intensity has a point of diminished returns, and overexposure to that could lead to injury. It could lead to, a flat athlete because they come into the CrossFit gym and they're trying to optimize their output. They're trying to chase high intensity. In reality, they should probably be taking it a little bit easier, moving through certain ranges of motion and done at a particular tempo, so that then they can go give their sport their all. So off season, you're pretty safe to chase intensity. Off season, you're safe to have football players doing kipping pull-ups and learning it. Of course, still, and again, the reason this isn't rocket science, and I'm sorry if this is a little bit more of a boring episode and I'm not as fired up as I am as about any other particular issue, but it's because it's pretty straightforward, right? Mechanics, consistency, and intensity. You can do this with any athlete at any time, as long as you garner that charter that CrossFit teaches. First, mechanics, then consistency of hitting those mechanics and consistency within the gym, then and only then intensity. And we get it so wrong. We get it wrong every day with the affiliate. We get it so wrong with high-level specialized athletes. If I had an NFL player walk into my gym and I'm doing Fran, I don't care who he is, he's still going to show me mechanics first, then consistency of upholding those mechanics. Then I'm going to let him get dosed up with intensity, particularly a specialized athlete, because there's even a greater risk that like this could affect the way that he provides for his family and his livelihood of his career. So there's a lot of things to consider. I could rant and make this a more complex answer, but it's pretty simple. You have to balance the demand on the athlete. When the demand is less, you can CrossFit more. When the demand is more, you must CrossFit less. And you got to just keep it that simple. What value does doing more CrossFit bring to a basketball player when he's in the middle of the season and everything? There's not. There's no value, right? He should be doing strength work absent from his a sport. He doesn't need extra conditioning if he's already doing conditioning there, because the sport is conditioning, and the way the tempo of the game is played now, when he's playing and practicing good, he should use that in the off season when he's getting ready for it. Of course, CrossFit has its place because it can be something that allows him to return to sport at a better condition and physically different, stronger, maybe even mentally tougher and much more physically aware athlete than a lot of his fellow competitors. So, Brody, I hope this answers your question a little bit. That's my opinion on training specialized athletes with CrossFit. I think it has a time and a place, but it takes some diligence and discernment and experience to be able to properly place that time and place and style of training that it should be, even in the form of CrossFit for particular athletes. So nonetheless, hope this is helpful. Folks, remember, continue to post your questions. Please reach out. If you're listening to this, please subscribe on the podcast channel. Make sure you follow along. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button and leave a comment below. Of course, that will help us continue to reach the masses. We've got a new Rise 45 coming out. The launch for signups is going to be soon. It is going to go live, and day one of Rise 45 Summer Shred starts April 28th. This is a lifestyle challenge where we literally hold you accountable and try to help meet you where you are for 45 days so that you can get back on the bandwagon. So many people have kind of already fallen off from their January 1 commitments and visions of grandeur. And this is an opportunity on April 28th to reset and go 6 weeks, 45 days of committing to some movement, to some nutrition, accountability, proper hydration, investing in yourself by allocating some time to read, study, pray, whatever it is. But it's a holistic approach, and you don't got to be, 7 out of 7 every day with the things that we quantify. The goal is consistency brings the best fruits, and we hope that the 45-day challenge in the form of Rise 45 is a great example for that. So keep your eyes posted, folks. If you're looking for 7 days free of all access, scan that QR code in the corner or go to ttrufitness.com. You'll find it there. Have a great one, folks. Keep rising.